going to get started with the AI panel. We're going to talk about generative AI. Okay, generative AI, is it hype? Is it real? And we want to talk with the best minds in the country on where is this really going? Where are we going from here, right? And enterprise applications, use cases. You know, how much of it is hype? How much of it is actually real? We're going to go maybe a little bit technical as well. We have some faculty as well over here, and I'm very pleased to. I'm going to quickly call them on stage one by one. I'm going to start with the moderator, Dr. Srikanth Sundarajan. Please give him a big round of applause. So Dr. Srikanth Sundarajan, also known lovingly as Doc, right? He's IIT Madras. He's a BTech. He also has a PhD from Urbana-Champaign in AI back in the late 80s, when many of you are not even here. And he's a seasoned professional. He's a Venture East is a VC, is a P VC fund, sorry, and he's also a partner there. In fact, general partner. And little more about him. He's focusing on technology startups across education segments like health, financial services, agri-tech, enterprise SaaS, and so on. He was with Helion before this, advisor to T-Hub and NASSCOM Deep Tech Club. He was one of the early founding members, and he's also a member of the Tech Committee for Government of India Initiative on Indirect Taxes, Customs, Excise. Visiting faculty, IIT Bhubaneswar, IIT Bhubaneswar, visiting faculty, multiple universities, and very happy to have you on board. Thank you. Okay, we have Vivek Sahasranamam, and he's going to be, thank you. Please give him a round of applause. So Vivek is IIT Delhi 98, right? And he's got a PhD UT Austin. Oh no, I mixed it up with one more. And he's master's degree, and he's currently at Glean, by the way. And he was at Microsoft, and then he was at Google for more than 17, 18 years as leading multiple initiatives. And now he's with Glean, leading the entire engineering. And Glean is enterprise software, is $100 million plus unicorn, and he's heading all the engineering for India. Please give him a round of applause. Okay. Then we have Aakash Kumar. Aakash Kumar, please join the stage. Guys, give him a big round of applause. He's a money man, so right. Aakash Kumar is the managing director at Matrix. Matrix is one of the largest VC funds in the country, multi-billion-dollar VC. And a little more about Aakash. He's focusing on consumer tech, fintech, AI. He's done multiple investments, in fact, in AI. He's done Dashtune. He's done MTech, multiple investments in the AI space, as well as he's an accomplished professional with experience driving growth. I know he was at Hotstar. He was a senior vice president in Hotstar. So all of you folks, whoever's used Hotstar, you got to thank him for that, right? And he was also with housing.com before that. And now he's a managing director and doing multiple investments. Give him a big round of applause, please. Then we have Professor Balaraman Ravindran. Please give him a big hand. So Professor Ravindran is the head of the School of Data Science and AI at IIT Madras. And yes, we have a brand new department of AI in IIT Madras, and he's going to be leading that. One of the leading universities in the country. Please give him a big round of applause. A little more about him. He's a senior member of Association Advancement of AI, long-standing contribution to AI, PhD from University of Massachusetts Amherst, master's degree from ISC Bangalore, multiple, obviously, papers to his name, and he's been cited across the country, across the world. Thank you for joining us, Professor Ravindran. And last but definitely not the least, we have one of the best AI minds in the country. Many people have used his work and in textbooks even, right? He's quoted, I don't know how many gazillion times. He's leading Rajiv Rastogi. Please welcome him on stage. So Rajiv Rastogi is leading all AI ML projects at Amazon, international markets in India and other countries as well. He's got, he's also from IIT Delhi. IIT Bombay. Sorry, so you guys need to. I almost got right. But so then he's after that he's finished his PhD in computer science, UT Austin, right? And he's got multiple papers to his name, more than 200 papers, and he's been cited more than 6,000 times across the country, across the globe. Give him a big round of applause, please. He's also serving on the editorial board of the CACM and been associate editor for IEEE Transactions and Knowledge and Data Engineering in the past. He's an ACM fellow and Bell Labs fellow as well. And thank you for joining, Rajiv. So great. I think we have a fantastic panel. We're ready to go. I'll give the mics over to the panel so they can get started. And hope you have a blast. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Sudeep. You did the chat GPT thing by saying IIT Delhi instead of IIT Bombay. So on that, we'll start. I'll start this slightly differently. I'm going to start from the big tech angle because we have decent representation here from Amazon and Google. So, Rajiv, from your standpoint, I mean, a lot of things have evolved in Amazon, right? From once the cloud stack was set up in 2004-5, and your microservices have improved. Everything is, of course, you sell a lot and charge a lot. That's a different thing. But what are some of the cool things that you're creating for the startup ecosystem to get people starting to use this? I mean, maybe 2 or 3 great examples for the audience, and that'll be
AI.
AI, basically LLMs, models which you're putting out, which people can leverage and quickly put out apps with some IP.
Right. I mean, again, we build our own applications as well. So, I mean, internally within Amazon, ML is pretty ubiquitous. So we use machine learning across the business, right from search, advertising, improving the quality of the catalog. One favorite that I have is really using computer vision to create the quality of fruits and vegetables. So, you know, quality is super important. We have a big grocery business here in India and across the world. And the question is, you know, how do you make sure that the quality of fruits and vegetables is, you know, you don't have defects, you don't have cuts, cracks, and so on, right? So we're using computer vision to do that. And we have very cheap cameras that are installed in stores that take images and are able to identify defective produce. Another, you know, one of the things for that we are doing for India is really around, you know, providing a conversational shopping assistant, and we want to do, you know, this both on the customer side as well as on the seller side. You know, emerging markets, especially like India, have a lot of new customers and new sellers. There are many, as you know, there are a lot of subscribers who are first time on shopping apps. They have low digital maturity and so on. So, and customers are very accustomed to getting help from an offline shopkeeper when they go about trying their shopping missions. So one of the initiatives that my team was working on was trying to build something like a conversational shopping assistant, which would play a role similar to what a shopkeeper does in terms of guiding customers to the product that they want to buy. You know, somebody comes, says they want to buy a smartphone, you know, the assistant may ask the person, the customer, you know, what do you want to use the smartphone for? And answer questions that people may have. You know, somebody may have a question, what is SSD or what is RAM and so on. So the assistant would answer those questions as well. And clearly, you know, a chatbot or a shopping assistant is the perfect application for large language models. And similarly, on the seller side as well, trying to assist sellers when they're trying to list products, or a lot of sellers really don't know about compliance processes. You know, they don't know about how they could grow their business using ads or giving deals, discounts, and so on. So again, having a assistant that would help sellers in terms of listing products. You know, sellers should be able to just upload an image of a product and a few keywords, and we should be able to create the listings. Right now, you know, listing is quite cumbersome on most of the platforms. You know, you have to enter 100, 150 attributes for every product, and that could take a couple of hours. So those are some examples of how we're leveraging LLMs for really improving customer seller experience on Amazon.
Thanks, Rajiv. So what I'll do is I'll flip quickly to our good friend Vic, and he was actually talking to us about why Google has a very unfair advantage compared to some of the other companies because they sit on a lot of data. So every day they are actually kind of doing something around ML. You spent 17 years there. So give us some insights because it's very important that some of those benefits actually come out to startups. Say, for example, Aakash is going to invest tomorrow. If you folks are doing everything, then you don't need VCs like us, right? So,
Thanks. Actually, happy to. Yeah, I mean, so I've been 17 years at Google. Now I've been about 2.5 months in this startup. So, yeah. So I think I have a little bit of picture on both sides. So I mean, Google just has like a lot of data. I don't work for Google anymore, so I should be, also. So it's a. I mean, like I was just talking to Rajiv a little while ago that I worked on like an audience model once for YouTube videos, right? And we're trying to figure out, okay, what are the kind of people that watch this video? Let's say this one. Let's say like a tech talk on, I don't know, something, right? And then, for example, a random TED talk, which is let's say some kind of a funny person, right? We were able to figure out that this is watched by techies. Right? And this we could not do this on that video, right? We could do this for hundreds of millions of videos, right? Because there's just so much data, right? I mean, we're just swimming in it. Like every single thing you watch on YouTube, everyone watches on YouTube is there, right? And then you can just, I mean, so we didn't even need all these complicated models. We could just use Bayesian modeling. Okay, it's very simple. What you learned in like 11th class statistics in probability, right? P of A given B divided by P of A. Very simple stuff, right? And you just do this like, and you could scale this to very, very large systems, right? So, and I also heard from many people who were in industry, who were in academia at that time, right? That they came to Google because it was just impossible to do ML research anywhere else because there is no data, right? The amount of data that all these companies have, right? And I think that is kind of the key change that has happened in the last, I think, with OpenAI and with this new AI revolution, right? Is that basically that advantage is now lost. In some sense, there is now this system available, right, that everyone can use, right? In fact, I don't know, many people have said like the new programming language is English, right? So basically, right, yeah, prompt engineering, right? So you just say, you don't even have to write programs because the system can write the program for you. And in fact, you'll write a program and run it and use it in the output. So I think, new world, and I think, thankful for it. And now we can see, in fact, in this startup, in some sense, how we are using it. It's changing, a lot of things. So, yeah.
Thanks, Vic. So what I'm going to do is jump to Ravi because he's got an interesting challenge because when you look at academia, you look at programs, it has to evolve super fast. And IITs have been really, really slow, in my opinion. Whenever I see
We just started a new department 2 weeks, man.
Yeah,
How
I know.
much more you want?
No, but I mean, being students and having taught also, I think things are going to change very rapidly. So I'd like your point of view. What is the vision for the AI school? Because yes, 2 weeks ago you've announced it. How will Robert Bosch support it? Probably not ongoing, but you might be doing. So just tell us a few things.
Sure. So as far as education is concerned, right? So like I've said this multiple times. Obviously, I'm plugging it. So we did start this new department of data science and AI. We don't have to run after the newest trick, right? When we are talking about educating, especially in the undergrad level. And so we are more concentrating on making sure we get people the right fundamentals. So how would this differ from, let's say, a computer science education would be that, hey, we talk to them about handling large volumes of data. In fact, when we did computer science education as undergrads, we never talked about data, right? We talked about algorithms, we talked about n squared, n log n, and things like that, which, I mean, n squared is like useless nowadays. So we can't talk about the classical models of computing, classical models of data structures, and so on and so forth. So we have to start at that point, right? It's not that I have to teach them, what about Llama 3.4 and ChatGPT 5.3 the day after it comes out. I don't think that's quite where education should be headed. But I agree with you. There's a significant need to revamp and rethink what we do teach at the undergraduate level. For example, do we even teach programming to non-CS students anymore? Right? So the programming used to be something that every branch did, right? maybe you should just teach them how to use Copilot, right? Or not even that, right? We should just teach prompt engineering. Yeah. So I'm only saying that half joking. So it's a serious question that a lot of us are debating about how programming should be taught, and not for the computer science and people whose job is going to depend on looking under the hood, right? But in general, so it's a very interesting time to be in, right? And you were talking about interfacing with industry. So there are a lot of places where we work with industry. In fact, Bosch is just funding the center, but we work with almost like 50, 60 other companies. And we also have one thing which forgot in my introduction was we also have the Center for Responsible AI, which folks like Google and Ericsson and a bunch of other companies, even Meta, are backing now. And there we are looking at the impact of this technology and what are the caveats, what are the right use cases to build, right? And not just talking to the technologists, but we also have lawyers. And so that's the kind of environment that we want to build for this new program. So where you're not only talking to the technologists, but talking to everybody who's going to get impacted by the technology that you're building and raise an awareness of that. So these are all the issues that we'll be looking at.
And what about changing the traditional outlook of having a Senate approve certain things? Because one of the things about IIT Madras is very, very rigid. And the reason
all IITs, please don't pick on us.
all IITs, okay. So it takes 1 year to approve a course. So we
No. Courses can, like you're talking about individual subjects, right?
Yeah.
If I want to teach an LLM course next semester, I can start. In fact, we just scrapped a big data lab course and we're replacing it with an ML ops lab, right? And that's going to happen. That'll be starting from Jan. So it'll be part of the.
then adopt this
curriculum.
company called SegMind, which Aakash will invest in. They're an MLOps company. So now I head off.
We'll talk.
And
we'll talk.
surprising, he said, scrap their big data course after like about a decade late.
Yeah.
No,
It's
but-
exactly. No.
But now I'm going to get to Aakash because all you folks are actually creating something which is very confounding to us, because when we invest in AI, or forget about Gen AI machine learning companies which are enabled, there's a first principles approach in terms of how this is going to change or disrupt a segment, right? Now, all the disruption and segment things are happening inside Google, it's happening inside Amazon. So the innovation is very, very thin, because the core models also may not be owned by you. In some cases, it could be. So, Aakash, what's changing? Because now you have to invest slightly differently. At least I think, from my perspective, we try to invest differently, and we're also learning because things are moving very fast. What are your views?
So I think the big tech advantage aside, right? I think fundamentally what's happening is when you think of foundational models, large models, and thanks to everything happening on the open source side, you're effectively now democratizing deep learning. So if you plot a yield curve, right, in terms of till date, who could extract value by doing deep learning work? The yield curve would be so skewed towards, and I've put it out earlier, would be ads and commerce have the highest yield, right? So they can keep doing, and which is why Google and Amazon were the ones who were doing it. But AI can be, and deep learning can be applied in every segment, but other segments can't yield, and hence they can't invest, right? The moment you have large and foundational models which are democratized, everyone can use deep learning, right? And that is the lens I think most founders and investors need to take, which is whatever your business was, can you reinvent and reimagine your business now with the deep learning being available to you? You couldn't, right? So a small startup earlier, like as he said, most people would gravitate to Google earlier because we wanted to do machine learning, deep learning. That was the place to be. They were the only ones who had data. That's not a barrier anymore, right? No startup earlier who was trying to do, let's pick one example. Could an urban company have done deep learning work? No, it was not worth it, right? What can they do now, right? Same way, a smaller company, a D2C brand, I don't know. And that's what we think about, right? That every business, if you can go back and think again, that how do you use this to your advantage? There is no dearth of opportunities.
Thanks. I think that's a very, very interesting point of view. I look at it with a slightly orthogonal view, because whenever you want to pivot, independent of what resources are there, democratized, because certain things have always been democratized. If you look at my first NLP course, it was in 1985. A lot of people may not have been here in this room in UIUC, and I just didn't know what it was all about, right? It's all stupid small things, and I said it would never come out, right? But then I'm a languages person. Writing a C compiler was a lot easier, C++ compiler, because you knew what was going in, what was coming out. But this seemed to be all random. But now it's available, you're right. And the interfaces are going to be pretty much alike. Now, if you're looking at three companies in some segment which are similar, it actually kind of leads to a lot of confusion in me, because you don't know which one is really good, because as you go deeper, all of them are using something which is out there. And what differentiates? Now it all comes back to execution and certain street smarts, and which is a very different way to look at it, as opposed to saying, this guy is some bits computer science major, NIT major, so I think he'll do something cool. That is gone, right?
So I would say now you can almost split the world of venture into two big zones, right? One is deep tech, hard tech, which will stay, right? Which is beyond code. And then is the world of soft tech, which is where we have had companies created globally and in India forever. The world of soft tech now will get limited to product and GTM execution. There, the differentiation on some nuance of under the hood code for majority startups will go away.
Totally, I agree with you. So it's going to be difficult for us, at least for me, because I used to have at least one distinguishing factor that's gone. So I'll have to kind of look at it very differently.
Won't the data still be there? I mean, yeah, the foundational models are there, but then you will build experiences on top of that, and there you will need additional data, personalized experience. The foundational models aren't going to personalize stuff. I think so. Data will always play a big role in the quality of experience that you provide, and of course, I think clearly, I mean, foundational models aren't perfect. I mean, you've got to, I mean, they have problems of hallucination, prompt engineering. I think there will be clever techniques of doing prompt engineering, maybe even automate that rather than doing it manually if you want the best performance. I mean, a lot of these foundational models are very sensitive to, in fact, somebody told me if you just change the sequence of certain sentences in the prompt, you'll get very different answers. It's that sensitive.
And they overweight
So
most recent input.
Right. And so again, I mean, finding so what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of differentiation that one can provide even with foundational models, because a lot of these are super expensive. They are hogs for compute bandwidth. So people will have to get innovative of how you lower the cost. I mean, we've seen, different strategies. I mean, you have multiple foundational models now. You have Plan, you have Falcon, you have Claude, you have Llama, and a bunch of foundational models. You've got many different strategies of deploying these. You can do prompt engineering, you can fine-tune these models. If you have a lot of data, fine-tuning these models will give you better performance with a smaller model than you would get with a larger model, that is prompt engineering. So there's a lot of deep science into optimizing the performance of these foundational models, and also bringing in data, your own data, to offer differentiated experience.
So let me jump in here. During around 2007, 2008, when cloud was just coming up, one of the things that we did when I was teaching at Virginia Tech and NYU, we did a cloud course where we got all the native cloud stacks. And we ran experiments on that to figure out how to kind of use these stacks. Of course, they've evolved quite a bit since then. Do you see something similar happening, Ravi, Rajiv, Aakash, in the classroom? So will this change by people actually running courses on this, things like you're talking about optimizing deeper, smaller data sets in tandem with LLMs? I'm just throwing it out there?
So I can share at least because having been a part of the AI community in India for a long time now, right, and I'm seeing this happen already, right. Going back to what Rajiv was also saying earlier, so if you think of the trifecta of cost, quality, latency, right, those three you will have to solve, and people will have to tinker around with multiple things. What's happening today is people start off with a basic MVP, which you'll start off with, let's say with Llama, OpenAI, whatever. Get it off the ground, start tinkering. Post that, when you start going deeper and start productizing LLMs, right? It's super hard. It's not easy. Because then you have to think of all these questions Rajiv was posing, which is the cost and latency around it, the quality. Then you start working. So I'll pick an example. One founder I know, today they have 5 large models in the backend and 3 small models to get to the final product, right? And which is what the founding community is already discovering. That they're getting to those answers very fast. Glean is one example, right? Like they've been at the forefront of this for quite some time. So I think putting LLMs into production to that workshop approach, I think founders are already doing it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's like, I mean, you should just go out on GitHub and look at how many different kinds of LLM models just exist. In fact, it's just.
How does it work from a student's perspective, and
Sure.
and when you're hiring people as startups, right? That whole thing needs to be a continuum, right? Which starts.
Yeah. So, I mean, the more classical curriculum, right, will not be able to change as quickly as you would want, like the flavor of the day kind of a thing. So what I am observing is that there are a lot more, this skilling courses, upskilling courses that are coming up, and instead of shying away from that model of delivering education, I think bigger institutions should embrace that and make sure that these skilling courses that are being offered are technically sound and they are not people out to make a quick buck. So leveraging the latest technology. So that's something that we are doing. We are engaging with people in multiple IITs, including Bombay, Delhi, Madras, even IISc. Have started engaging with these kind of edtech companies to offer quick turnaround courses. So I think that is a thing that you will see more and more happening in this area.
And I think to add to that a little bit, I think the main thing is like there's this huge benefit that you get, that you can just suddenly spin about a company and pitch it to all of you, right, and everything, right, and then do you actually know how that underlying thing works, and is it going to actually work, right, all of these things, right. So that is a key thing that in some sense an education should really try to give you in some sense. Okay, can you evaluate this thing, right, and then can you say that, okay, this is, yes, it works for me, right, but I trust the underlying thing that it's doing, right, and I'm able to evaluate it correctly, because that is like the key to your business eventually, right. You will pitch and you will get like the first round, and then after that you'll figure out that things just stop working. So I think that is something that education can definitely aim to do.
I think that's pretty cool. How are we doing in terms of time? Can we actually throw it over to the audience? Swadeep, anyone here?
Who's keeping time track?
No, that's what I'm asking. So we want. Okay, so we'll do one more round on this, and then we'll throw it open to the audience, because I just want to make sure your queries are addressed first. So I think we've got this fundamentally cool thing going, where I'm hoping that the Googles of the world, the Amazons of the world, actually start to reach out to the AI schools in these universities and actually have a lot of collaborative things going on, like it used to be in the US, where we'd come in and spend 1 year understanding these. Because first principles thinking, as a VC, when I go and evaluate, I'm slightly different. I'm not a balance sheet MBA type guy. But so I had to get under the cover. I also find it difficult to get under the cover because there's so many models, and even they keep on changing. Hey, we can use this, we can use that. So I'm also kind of confused, right? I need to actually go back, and I spent about a month and a half in the US, and I went talking to a bunch of people at Stanford, Berkeley, and I came back equally confused, okay, to be honest. So how will this confusion cease? Vivek, we'll start with you, since you're there.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know, actually I was talking to our CEO Arvind this morning, right? And he said basically that something like, okay, like is AI hyped, right? So, or like all of this other stuff also that, you're asking underneath in terms of all these questions, right? I think basically what we have is we have this new tool now, right? Came via OpenAI, but then, it was building up, and then now we've suddenly crossed the threshold, right? And then the possibilities are endless. The problem is that, we just don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to evaluate it. We don't know how, is it safe? Is it going to give us the right things? Is it going to continue to give us the stuff that we are building on top of it and so on, right? This is just like a phase of technology, right? So when mobile phones were invented and when they started becoming ubiquitous, right? We had the same. So basically, as a human, right, we are just not able to make this incredibly large leap that this technology is promising to us, right? We are thinking this is too good to be true. This is something must give here, right? Something is a problem, right? And then so in some sense we just need to kind of, and then some of it is probably true, right? So we're going to learn over time. So it's just a matter of, we are this uncomfortable stage of time, right? Where, there is a lot of promise, lots of people are building lots of stuff. We don't know what is going to work, right? We just have to embrace the chaos.
Between Aakash and I, at least, I haven't spoken to him, but like I'm talking to a bunch of VCs. I talked to them in the Bay Area. All of them are going in very early now, and they're actually working with the founders, almost like a venture studio, where they're also experimenting and learning, because I can't deal with this much information. I just give up, okay? And I can't be very caustic. I can't go down because I'll say, I think I made a mistake. I should backtrack. That's not a good thing. So what's your promise, Rajiv? Are you going to help build this vision where you get into the IITs and NITs and unis and pull out really some cool people and cool courses and cool faculty to work with you?
A lot of, Ravindran actually is an expert in reinforcement learning, and that is going to be a key technology for all the prompt engineering and so on, to generate prompts automatically, to learn what are the best prompts and so on. But, just backing up a bit, clearly Gen AI, going with the topic of the panel about hype versus real, right? It's definitely real. We have seen step improvements in ML capabilities as well as ML model performance using Gen AI, right? A lot of tasks, NLU tasks, performance, like at a 90% precision, your recall has gone up 10-20%, just because these Gen AI models really capture real world knowledge, right? They're all trained on vast amounts. ChatGPT is trained on vast amounts of data on the internet, right? Common Crawl, books, Wikipedia, and so on. So just the same task, starting off with a large language model and fine-tuning that with your own data, instead of just using a random model and tuning it with your data, itself for free gives you a whole bunch of lift. Of course, costs go up too, but you've got to balance that. And then you get all these other capabilities of summarization that you couldn't do before, fluent language generation, question answering, conversations, and so on. So it's definitely real. But of course, the hype part, I would say, is around claiming that it's got AGI. It's definitely there are a lot of at the end of the day, it's the output or the responses of these LLMs are based on past patterns that they are trained on. So you're not going to see something super creative come out of this, right? Everything that these these LLMs will spew out is based on combining patterns that they may have seen in different ways, right? They're statistical models. So that's one. At least I think like lack of creativity is something that we still. I know you're saying that. But it's all again based on patterns that they've seen. So it's combining the patterns. But you can say, well, that's what language is, combining words in different ways. So, but again, I think that whether they have human-like creativity is to be seen. reasoning is another area, reasoning and planning, solving math problems that require multiple steps of deduction and so on. That's also an area where, something that humans can do it. So I think claiming that these things have AGI and we have evidence of AGI, I think that is a little bit hyped up, I would say. We've got to wait and watch. But definitely, I mean, these are all systems that are going to get deployed in the next. They're already being deployed, and in the next year, we're going to see huge deployments.
So actually, I'll just jump in
And
now.
more confusion, by the way. There'll be a lot more foundational models coming up.
So in the interest of time, we're
So
running short. So I would.
I'll quickly answer the other side of the question you have been
So
asking.
I want you
Rajiv.
to summarize it a little bit, and then maybe Aakash, you also for a couple of minutes, and we'll throw it over.
Okay. So the other side, when you have been asking about the Amazons and Google is willing to go out to the colleges and teach, you have to also ask are the colleges willing to accept them to come and teach. And the answer is, no, the answer is yes, right? So in fact, we have been reaching out to multiple, working professionals who are also have the teaching itch that we like to scratch, right? And we are getting them on board for multiple of our programs, at least in ITM. So we're happy to get you. Right. And so it's certainly something that needs to be done.
I think two things matter, right? And simple short on hype versus real. I think it's real to the extent that people are not even understanding how real it is. So that's one. And the biggest confusion to your question, as a lifetime coder, I worry about is, for the first time, I'm working with a probabilistic compute setup, right? I'm not used to it. We're used to writing deterministic pieces of software. This is going to be the biggest rewiring that builders, investors, everyone will have to get used to.
Very, very aptly put. I think I'm still trying to rewire myself. A lot of short circuits have happened in the last 2-3 months, but I'm getting a reset. So with that, thank you, gentlemen. We'll throw it open to the audience, and please, when you ask a question, just mention where you're from and what the question is.
I'm from Bangalore. What I just wanted to know is, in this, although we missed, as a India, as a country, we missed this software thing completely, will we be able to capitalize on the AI revolution? And is a company like Google and Amazon simply moving away from data because it's too much of data, and they've already moved out of data and they are looking at something else?
I don't know. I think you tagged on two questions to one. Kind of cheated, but it'll get you. But I mean, I think in India the opportunities are endless. Frankly speaking, I mean, I think this is like any kind of democratization that happens of this kind of thing, right? And the problems we have in India are different from everywhere in the world, right? We need like lots of technology. I mean, you guys will talk to you about all the places they're investing in, right? So I mean, I think in India the opportunity is really amazing, because the other thing is that this is like a inherently multilingual model. I mean, the model understands language at a level at which it's not English anymore, right? All of this stuff. So I think on the India side,
So I'll add something slightly differently. I mean, data is there, I agree. And if you look at data replication, which is where people are going in terms of interoperability of databases and actually releasing stale data sets. It's not totally fresh, but slightly stale, which you can experiment with, which I know the likes of Microsoft are doing, IBM is going to be doing that, Amazon is going to be doing that, because that's the way they get people onboarded. If you hold on to everything as just an API, that isn't fun anymore, at least in my mind. Then I'll go and solve more deeper problems. So I think it'll be a happy mixture. But I didn't even understand the first part of your question. You said like India missed the software. I mean, come on, we kept on writing so many COBOL programs. We did Y2K. We've done so many things. Come on.
I'm going to ask you a question.
okay, sure.
The thing is this, right? So you said there are a lot of uniquely Indian problems that need to be solved,
Yeah.
right? But is there a market for it, right? If some startup
Yeah.
goes and builds this, would they be able to sustain in India?
No, absolutely. I mean, like, I have been at Google for 17 years, and I know Google itself is trying to, of course, solve this problem. But every time it tries to solve a problem, I don't want to speak too much for Google because I don't actually really work for Google anymore. So, but the problem that Google always tries to solve is like, okay, can we solve this problem for India in a way that we can solve it for the rest of the world, right? And then there are also always these problems that are all in the details. Like, there is a scale of problem that a large company wants to solve.
Yeah, let's leave Google out of the picture, right? I'm talking about startups.
Yeah.
If a startup solves a uniquely Indian problem,
Yeah.
right? So would they have a market enough in India to sustain?
Plenty.
Maybe.
I mean, I think that's better for these guys to answer.
You know, I
Interesting.
mean, none of these foundational models out there have good support for any of the Indian languages. So, right there's a great opportunity for building something, and it's a huge. India is a huge market, and there's a huge market for Indian languages, right? Indian language interfaces like the shopping assistants and things like that. The things I was talking about. You know, we at some point I'm sure we'd want to offer things like that in Indian languages, right? And yeah, Sarvam is something that got funded. I don't know exactly if they're building foundational models, but I think Indian language foundational models I think would be super hot.
Actually, I have a different vision of the world. There are lots of things to be solved in India around rural tech, healthcare, which are very peculiar and endemic to India. And they're very, very sustainable if done. The implementation is where usually you get into an issue. But we'll come back to that later because I don't want to let the audience go. Please.
So, hello sir, I'm Abhishek, 4th year civil engineering student at IIT Madras. So, like being a student, the only moat I used to have is like I can build good tech products with really leading edge technology over any other field with anyone in this room, right? Now, with the verge of AI, like everyone, like product building has become so easy. So, where can I build my moat as a student entrepreneur?
Want me to tell you from a basic entrepreneur standpoint, I think you got to think the whole problem very differently. If you're thinking tech first, forget that. Think problem first, solution, and leverage. Because as Aakash was pointing out, it's all about execution and clarity of what you're using and the ability to kind of be consistent. Okay? So now it becomes very different. You have to start looking at a startup very differently. We also have to look at it very differently. Because I can't just basically say this is a 100% engineering team and this is how it's set up. It can be just a 5% engineering team which might be kind of killing it, right? Or slaying it as they call it in Gen Z.
Makes sense.
Yeah, hi. This is Shudip from Pre-Science. What I understand from the language models are they are applied currently to the quick success. So what you have also discussed, but the material science and the pharmaceutical, drug designing, drug discovery, the generative AI models are a long path to go, and the whole idea about that is very different. Even the Google's AlphaFold is, I would say, a success, but still a long way to go, and that's not a language model. It's of course a different type of model. So now, giving that, maybe Aakash, I would ask you that how the venture capital funds are thinking in this line, because this is an open field still now. One thing, and for Professor Ravindran, means I'm putting again 2 questions in it. I would like to ask that IITs and all, they are having this interdisciplinary sciences happening, and that's most probably the right place where people can start building something like that from India. And most probably chemistry and material science and biological sciences are very good in India. So currently, this state. So I'd like to understand what you think about it.
I'll go first. My answer is shorter. The answer is much simpler. Founders think and imagine, not venture capitalists, right? So it is the job of founders to figure it out. Our job is to help them and support them on their journey. Short answer, if any VC is thinking, good for them. I'm not.
Okay, so yes, so a lot of interdisciplinary science is happening, and especially applications of AI. In fact, the particular problem that you're talking about, I know at least 3 different interdisciplinary teams in India who have been publishing extensively in using AI in molecule design and material design and so on and so forth, including IT Madras. We have a very strong program in looking at AI for material sciences and material design. And things like that. So these things are happening. We are certainly pushing the boundary. So we have interdisciplinary centers where we have faculty from 12, 13 different departments who are part of it, working jointly on applying AI to solving real problems, not just looking at AI fundamental research, but also looking at how to solve real problems. That is happening, right? But the investment in Indian academic research is minuscule. We really need a lot more money to come in for us to start having impact globally. So that's still the sore point, but certainly it is happening. Thank you. Hands up, that means hands up.
Thank you. First of all, give a big round of applause, please, for the incredible panel. First of all, thank you so much, Rajiv. Thank you, Dr. Ravindran, Aakash, Vivek, and Doc himself. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. This is a fantastic